United States will hunt down and punish those responsible for these cowardly acts.
When I was in the military, I was in the United States Marine Corps. My MOS, my military occupational specialty, was an 0311 infantry rifleman. And I was diagnosed currently with 50% PTSD.
I was in the United States Army. I was a 50 cal machine gunner and a driver. I have a 30% disability rating currently for PTSD and MST.
I served in the United States Marine Corps. I was diagnosed with PTSD when I got put in the institute when I was deployed in Japan.
It's not something that you catch per se. It's actually a diagnosis that was created in the 70s to describe a very normal and natural response that the human body has to trauma. So post-traumatic stress is exactly that. It is the stress that you experience after trauma.
There's times where we had grenades thrown at us, you know, and you see people getting their legs blown off, you see people getting blown up, people getting shot. It's a continuously stressful environment. Having a group of Marines that are young, 18 to 21 years old, these kids are fresh out of school, they're fresh in life, and then every single day I'm their squad leader, and I've said it time and time again, I'm pushing them across friendly lines to their impending death every single day. And there's a guilt that comes with that.
When Patrick returned home, he had difficulty adjusting to a normal life. He was suffering from PTSD, but he didn't know.
People say you're angry, you're this, you're so isolated, you don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to interact with the family, you don't want to interact with this. Because why? Because I just went through 6.5 months of hell, of not knowing minute to minute, second to second, whether I was going to be alive.
An IED exploded on my truck, on the truck that I was in, on this convoy, and exploded right behind me. I remember looking out one of the portholes and just saw fire and everything went in slow motion.
Elizabeth Salcedo served in the United States Army and was stationed in Iraq. During her time in the military, she was sexually assaulted twice. The second time it happened, she reported it to authorities.
When I was in Iraq, I was sexually assaulted by someone who was much bigger than me and of higher rank than I was. I was processing, that didn't just happen. I was in denial about it.
As more women go into the military, another form of post-traumatic stress is being recognized. It is called MST, military sexual trauma. Elizabeth Salcedo suffers from both.
So military sexual trauma, if the person was assaulted or raped, that's a trauma. And rapes are more likely to cause PTSD symptoms.
One way Elizabeth dealt with the trauma was by blocking it out, partying and drinking.
I didn't realize that my drinking was an issue until I ended up going to the doctor and then telling me I was going to have cirrhosis of the liver in my 20s.
Everybody kept saying the Marines, and I was like, all right, let's do it. Well, let's do the Marines. I didn't know I had PTSD until they told me. You show signs, you don't remember things, you have flashbacks.
First you have the trauma, And then you have re-experiencing, and re-experiencing can happen in nightmares, dreams, memories, flashbacks.
Not only does post-traumatic stress affect the individual, but it also affects their relationships with people around them.
I have a lot of trust issues. I don't feel safe with certain people. And once I do get to that safe point with people, for me personally, that's a really big deal for me.
People will ask me, is there a cure? Well, let me put it to you this way. If my mom died 6 months ago, what you would not hear me saying is, hey, you know what? My mom died 6 months ago. I was really sad and depressed about it, but I'm cured now. Right? Have you ever heard of someone being cured from the death of a loved one?
It was about 9 years after the fact that I finally went in and said, I need to get checked.
Patrick is now a professor at the University of Laverne.
One of the best things I'd say that really helps me is being a professor, because PTSD has a control factor. You want to be able to control the environment.
Freddie has gotten therapy for his PTSD. He says working as a chef has also helped. It is a routine similar to being in the military.
It's a great job for me. Because I don't have to deal with a lot of people. I have a small group of staff, deal with them, got to know them.
Elizabeth underwent therapy and stopped. She found an outlet in doing public speaking.
I kind of got thrown into public speaking just by being a female veteran and people wanting to hear the female veteran's perspective of things. I found out, that people listen.
Despite the obstacles due to post-traumatic stress, it is something that can be treated with the right help. Patrick, Elizabeth, and Freddie all went through different experiences that caused them to suffer from post-traumatic stress. Today, they continue to live their lives the best they can, even though they're still fighting the war within.